Welcome back to A Second Chance at Love and Marriage. I'm Shanice.
I'm Sean.
And we are your hosts today on the Second Chance at Love and Marriage podcast. And today we are going to share with you just some things that we've learned about
making love a choice. Before we even do that, we have to make it an option. I've learned in my particular life that I put a lot of options on the table, and I never even considered love. And that'd be the last thing, and especially when it comes to marriage and relationship, that if we never put love on the table, we open up doors for separation, divorce, anger, animosity, and stuff like that. So we need to make love a choice, but first and foremost, making an option. Making an option. When you commit to something or somebody, you work your resolves around that commitment. And in a relationship, when you commit to love and you commit to somebody, you work problems out based on that commitment. But if love is not a choice, if you never even make it an option, it's so many other things that easily come into play. And what me and Shanice has decided to do is make love an option every time, so that we make that choice. We choose to love each other. We choose to love each other.
And part of that is choosing to forgive.
Yeah. Because there's so many aspects of love, whether you're a biblical person or not, love, it trumps a lot of things. When you love somebody, you forgive them, you understand, you compromise, you learn to do the things that love would do. But, a lot of the times in our life, I'm not questioning the fact that we love people, but are we making that love an option? Are we choosing that love over everything else? I tell you, particularly in my life, once I decided to make love the choice of my life, in my relationship with Shanice, but ultimately in all my relationships, I start to see what I can do in these relationships instead of how to get out of them. Instead of what I need to do to get out of a relationship, I started to see what I can do. Whether it's talking to Shanice and trying to work something out, whether it's understanding my mom or my dad, whether it's understanding my siblings, always thinking, love. How can I love them? Instead of how can I find fault? How can I place blame or anything like that? So it's always helped me. And the first step I did with making love an option or making it a choice, I had to define what love is for me. I always talk about freedom, but love is forgiveness. Love is patience. Love is trying to get an understanding. Love is all of these things. So when I deal with situations and I deal with people, and I'm going to even say when I deal with myself, I make love an option. Be patient with yourself, Sean. Forgive yourself, Sean. Understand that everything you want ain't going to happen overnight, Sean. So I love myself in that sense. And I do the same with Shanice, and I do the same in the life of other people that I deal with. But I've made love the choice of my life. And because of that, my relationships are a product, and they thrive and they last because of that.
That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But what about outside of marriage?
Like I say, every relationship got its own dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whether it's siblings or parental things, I understand that my parents are my parents. I'm not their pastor. I'm not their parents. I can't tell them what to do. But because I made a choice to love my parents no matter what, that sometimes I have to say, all right, Sean, just love them without saying nothing. Love them, but, don't give them the advice because they parents. My siblings, I love them regardless of what we go through. And sometimes best way to love them is, unfortunately, give them their distance. Sometimes you just got to be like, I love them enough, so I ain't going to say nothing. So the only way I'm not going to say nothing if I separate myself for a little bit. So depending on the relationship, you have to make decisions, but always let love be the choice, but make a decision based on how you can continue to keep that person in a loving relationship without making it bad for yourself.
Yeah. And I want to touch on that part because a lot of times, especially in marital relationships, it gets really confusing for people who are in bad relationships that are really harmful. So I really do want to stress, we definitely are not encouraging that. If anybody is in a bad abusive situation and watching this video, we are not encouraging you to put love first and stay there till the very end. That could be until you're dead if you're in an abusive relationship.
True that.
So by no means, put love first means first loving yourself, just like Sean just said.
Yeah.
Loving yourself first to the fullest.
Yeah. But go back to what we was talking about, that self-love. You know, you can't say you loving somebody and you letting them beat you up, because you shouldn't even beat yourself up. So in that sense, we definitely not, like Shanice said, encouraging people to, you know, I'm gonna just say it like be stupid. You know, don't be dumb and think that, well, I'm gonna love this person, because no, if that person don't know how to love themselves and you love yourself enough to realize I'm not gonna harm myself, you know what to do in that situation.
Yeah.
You know, so we definitely encourage you to make sure you loving yourself in the most healthiest way. You know, relationally, you know, with what me and Shanice talking about is, you know, just putting love on the table in your marriage, in the sense of understanding how to best love yourself and your wife. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And that comes with, I know for us, it was just, you know, just having some conversations, because when at the, you know, previously, the first time we were married, I mean, walking away, just speaking for myself, was always the option. It was the option. You know, love, that option began to drift further. Forgiveness began to drift, or not even so much forgiveness,
Right.
but love itself was just drifting away. And the first option was leave. But when I trace that back to, you know, other areas of my life during that time, it was like, just leave this, just leave that, just leave the job, just leave, you know, that particular house. You know, so it always traces back to something, you know. Yeah. And I think that's, for me, what I had to get down to the root of, when I think, you know, just coming from a mature place, you know, this second chance at love that we've been given, love is always the first choice for me. Love is always my first option. It has never been that I could just leave. That thought has never been there to that I would meditate on that thought. Right. You know, it has always been, what can I do to make love work? Because this is the person that I love. This is the person that I want to be with. He wants to make this work 100%, even though we may disagree on this particular thing. Because realistically, I remember a pastor's wife told me this some years ago, and I remembered it because I didn't know. And she was like, I don't agree with everything the pastor say.
Right.
And and I was shocked. I was surprised, because I'm thinking, she the pastor wife, she's sitting there, she listening to him. She was like, I don't agree with everything the pastor say, please. Right. She was like, but, you know what I mean? That's my husband. But she was like, we don't agree on everything. Right. So even concerning people who are religious, because I'm clearly not. But for people who are religious, even from a biblical standpoint, y'all don't have to agree on everything.
For sure.
But y'all can still love each other. You know, y'all don't have to agree on every single thing. But of course, it's some core things, right, you know, that you do need to agree on. And that's, you know, the love for one another, and whatever those things are for you all.
True. And when you start at that principle of making that choice of love as the foundation, you or your wife don't win. Love wins. And that's the thing. You know, at the end of the day, you want love to win. I'm often seeing myself being pulled in situations where people trying to get me to side with, I'm right or they right. I said, it's not all about who right or who wrong at this time. It's about what y'all can do. You know, and when love is that option, it's like, let's look at love. What would love do for us right now? So I don't want my wife to say, I want you to believe like I believe. Well, I don't want her to believe like I want to say, let's see what love would say at this situation. So I always look at that starting block of a building. You know, what are you, especially you in a marriage, what are you building your marriage on?
Yeah.
You know, if you building it on agreement, I'm telling you, y'all ain't gonna always agree. And if somebody say they agree every time, question that. Either they lost their own identity, their own ability to think, or they lying. You know, I ain't saying y'all can't eventually come to an agreement, but ain't nobody gonna always agree with everything. But y'all can come to an agreement to love, to build on love. And once you start doing that, I believe agreements happen. Agreements happen because a lot of times change happen. Yeah. You know, you go from both of us wasn't in the right position for that. So let's find what we can both agree on. And I love that about Shanice. Shanice would tell me perspective that we might agree on. So I don't be like, well, this is what I believe. You know, and if I do, I'll be like, okay, let's see what we can work out because we love each other. You know, I think that helps us more than anything else with that starting block of love. Because we don't want to drift apart. We don't want to make anything else an option. So we say, okay, let's go back. Let's go back to this. And once we do that, we get understanding. Even when we don't have agreement, we at least have understanding. It's like, I feel where you're coming from. You know, I understand where you're coming from. And that's, I think, understanding is a part of love.
Yeah.
You know, understanding each other.
And I think, like, for us, for me, I can just say, you know, part of understanding is understanding or being open to hear, to listen. And we kind of talked about this in the previous show. Mm-hmm. Just being open to hear and to listen to another person's perspective. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be the same as mine. And that's okay. That doesn't mean it's just like political things. Yeah. You know, you don't agree with your friend's political view. You know, y'all didn't vote for the same person. I know people fell out though in 2021 over that. People fell out literally in 2020, 2021 over that political thing. It's like, how could you? Right. But yeah, just, I mean, we may vote for different people, and that's okay. That's the freedom that we have to choose. Sure. Okay. Nobody is forced in life to, there's always other options. Mm-hmm. Everything is not cookie cutter. It's not one size fits all. This is the way that it's gotta be. So for me, it was just being open to listen and to hear Sean's perspective, and to say, you know what, it's not like he's against me. He's not throwing stones at me. Mm-hmm. He just have a different perspective or viewpoint or opinion on this particular matter or subject. Mm-hmm. So I became more receptive to that and more so welcoming to the things that we didn't agree on, and not seeing that as a bad thing. If we did not agree on something, for sure. It's not the end of the world. Mm-hmm. We're not gonna agree on every single thing. So,
yeah. One of the things that choosing love helped me to do is stop fearing so much. You know, I don't think, just personal for me, that the opposite of love is hate. I think the opposite of love really is fear. When you don't choose love and love is not something stable, you have all these doubts and uncertainties that causes fear. So when I chose to love, particularly Shanice, I stopped fearing she would leave me. I stopped fearing that she didn't care about me. I stopped fearing because my love for her, it put that fear in the background. It casted it out. It put it down so far that it's not even something that I see now. You know, so I can disagree with her without feeling afraid that we're gonna argue. Not feeling afraid that if I hurt her feelings that this or that, I'm not afraid anymore. And it's because I've made that choice to love. You know what I mean? I think a lot of relationships are controlled by fear because love is not really where it should be. If you're afraid of somebody, you know, that means that love is not where it should be. You know, and I'll be honest, I used to be afraid to hurt Shanice so much because I know what hurting her have done in the past, you know, and I still don't want to hurt her, and I'm still conscious that but I'm not afraid that if I hurt her feelings that it's going to have an adverse effect because she chose to love me and I chose to love her. And you don't want to be in a relationship where fear is the dominating factor, you know, because everything is messed up then. You're walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, I mean, a lot of relationships are kind of that way because when we think about even our past relationship, you know, it was based on a lot of fears.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fears, a lot of anxieties, but we were two immature people dealing with a lot of fears and a lot of anxieties, and, you know, we didn't know how to work through that. We didn't know how to deal with that. We was in our 20s.
Yeah.
So now fast forward 20 something years later, now it looks different for us. But, you know, when we was younger, I mean, you know, you speaking about that anxiety and fear, that's pretty much what our relationship was based on. It was based on control. It was based on fear.
Mm-hmm.
There was some love there, but it was not the dominating energy. It was not the dominating force.
Right.
And when when you just reflect back, that's where we were, and it was just two people in trauma.
In trauma, for sure.
Two
That's
people dealing
described.
with trauma.
For sure.
Basically, and
For sure.
that was not good.
Yeah.
And you know, we tried. We as years went on, though, we got a little bit more and more mature.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Because we gave our life over to God, but at the same time, we still had our own stuff to deal with.
Most definitely. And she mentioned another thing about when you choose love, you choose not to try to control people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things that I didn't realize, that when I didn't choose love as a foundation for the lifestyle that I wanted to build with Shanice, I either thought she was trying to control me or I got to control her. But love don't control anybody.
Right.
Love actually is freeing. You know, where you see love, you see freedom. You know, it's certain sayings that we have that I hold on to. A lot of sayings I just be like, man, that's just some stuff people made up. But if you love something, you free it. And if it comes back, it's true love. So I truly do believe that if you love somebody enough, you free them. You know, you don't free them from the relationship that y'all have per se, but you free them to make whatever choice they need to make. Yeah. You know, and you feel that if they truly do love you, they're going to make a choice based on love. Mm-hmm. You know, even if it take time, sometimes we got to let a person grow, or we have to grow in our love. Otherwise than that, and anytime you see yourself trying to control somebody, or you feel like somebody trying, question, question, am I loving that person? You know what I mean? So we need to really understand the certain signs that show us that we haven't really made love a choice. Mm-hmm. You know, and like I said, two of those things with me was fear. You living in fear, and you living in try to control any and everything, because relationships are supposed to be so spontaneous that even though you have a plan, you still open for adventure. Yeah. You know, and I love that about Shanice. She's open for the adventure. I'm kind of rigid sometimes, but my wife take me on a trip of adventure every single day. And because I'm not so afraid anymore now, I'm loving the adventure. And it's a beautiful ride. You know, it's a beautiful ride because love is our guide in this situation. We just loving each other, and we knowing that, hey, we got each other back. Yeah. You know, and that's beautiful.
I think one thing that showed me how to release control, because one, I identified with the factor that it was fear as a parent. That's where really all that, and my youngest son, you know, leaving the house and going on to college, I knew that at that age, it's like, I'm letting go. And it was like, it was like the Spirit preparing me ahead of time to release him and let him go. Because I knew without me being there, there's nothing that I can do. I had to trust.
Yeah.
I had to literally trust that he's protected. I'm praying over him daily.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's in contact with me, but I trust. And that's all I can do.
Yeah.
I pretty much just have to lean back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, has like from that point until, you know, as years, you know, went on, it's just trusting and trusting more and more. You know what? I love my son and I'm trusting that he's going to be okay.
Most definitely.
There's nothing I can do to control him. That takes too much of my energy. I basically taught him everything to do, you know, that's right. So I'm trusting that he's going to remember that. That God's going to bring that back to his remembrance and he'll be okay.
Most definitely.
So that's what I had to do with my oldest son too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can try and, you know, be worried and fear and anxiety, what's going to happen, but if this happens, then that, and trying to prevent all of these things from happening in somebody's life, like you, God, and
Right.
I'm going, you know, I got to physically stop all this stuff from happening. No, wait a minute, on the phone, trying to call people, trying to call this person. I'm not about that life.
Most definitely.
I am not about that life. When my oldest son, you know, even when he left home, I had to release him. I had to trust that he was going to be okay.
Most definitely.
And throughout the years when you know, it was like flipping a coin. What is he doing? Is he all right? I mean, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
All I can do is trust God that he's going to be okay.
True that.
Because there's nothing that I can control. I can't control anything I can't control him from making a decision. I can't control him from making, you know, choices, who he gonna be friends with, where he's going to go, where he's going to live, what kind of job he's going to take. I can't control any of that, and I can't make them decisions for him.
True.
Now, just think about it. Do you really want that much control over somebody's life?
Right.
Because in reality, I make my own wrong decisions, wrong choices sometimes. It all works together for my good. But during that time frame where I was unsure and uncertain about so much stuff, I can't make no decision for them.
Right.
What if I end up being wrong? What if that's not the path that they're supposed to take?
Right.
So as a parent, I just had to lean back and let go. I just really had to let go and trust that it's going to be okay. All things are working together for their good. There's no weapon that is formed against them that shall prosper. And I trusted the fact that, they're not going to die. They're going to live. They're going to live.
Sure.
So that helped me in this, but even still, it was still the second time around some things that we, you know, we just had to work through. But I think it came quicker this time because I went through a lot of those processes that prepared me for this.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, it could have been, you know, a lot of this a tug of war for a long time, because look where we are today as opposed to where we were 6-7 months ago.
For sure.
So we made a lot of progress.
And it's all because we standing on the foundation of love. Shanice talked about, you know, trust. You know, I talked about some things that love isn't. Love isn't fear. Love isn't control. But love is trusting. Love is trusting and peaceful. You know, so if you're not at peace or trusting situations or circumstances, really, I'm talking about any relationship particularly, that means you gotta get better on the foundation of love. And me and Shanice have learned that. It's like, and especially raising kids, because for the most part, she was there raising our sons, and I thank God for it. But when I got home, or even when I was in prison, and I'm trying to parent from a distance, I was so afraid. I was so fearful, and I wasn't trusting that Shanice had this. I wasn't trusting that they were listening. I wasn't at peace. And I'm talking about, man, some of those days was long days and nights. You know, even when I got out, I was struggling with loving my sons enough to understand that they got to make their own decisions. So I had to release them, not from my particular responsibility as a parent, from my wanting to control their lives. Even if it was in my best, I thought I had the best decisions for them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes as parents we do. We know the decision, but we still can't. Because like she was saying, I believe God is love. And does God control us? No. Do God live in fear about every decision we make? No. And he's all knowing, which we're not. And he knows the decision. He still don't live in fear. There is no fear in God. You know, he doesn't say, okay, I'm going to stop this thing. You know, it's a circumstances we're going to look back that, yeah, God was definitely the reason why certain things didn't happen. But there was other situations that God was like, well, you know what I mean? So if we're going to learn to be like God is, and God is love, we got to learn to have peace with our decision. We got to learn to trust that we done did what all that we had, that we could do, and that love is reciprocal. You know, I often go back to a saying that I heard when I was first getting into Christianity that I argue with for everything inside of me. Some person said, love God and do what you want. I said, that makes absolutely no sense. How you gonna love God and do what you want? I didn't listen or read the rest of the comment. He said, because if you love God, you're gonna do what's right. So at the end of the day, if we do love somebody, it's going to control what we do. Because I can't love Shanice and consciously do anything to hurt her. You know? So if I love myself, I won't consciously do anything to hurt myself.
Right.
So we don't need a whole bunch of laws and thou shalt nots. We just need to walk in love. And then when I finally got to an understanding what Jesus meant, Jesus said, if you love me, you will do what I tell you to do. So it's not in order to prove that you love me, you obedient. He's saying proof of your love is going to be in what you do. And I've learned that in my life. It's a lot of things that Shanice didn't have to tell me she didn't want me to do. I just realized that that's not good because I love her so much. Why would I stay out all night? I love her so much. Why would I go gamble my check away? I love her so much. Why would I do that? You know, so these are the things we're talking about in relationship. Build your relationship on love. It won't be a whole bunch of rules. It won't be a whole bunch of restrictions or feelings of anxiety and fear. You'll be at peace, trusting that your love and her love is going to work together for y'all good. You know, so put that on the table. Put an option of first and foremost, less love, and then commit to that and watch everything else fall in place. Arguments going to be coming to disagreements. Simple. We don't agree, but we still grew up and we grew together and we grew closer. So all of that will change when you just choose love. And that's all we're saying to do. You know?
Yeah. Well, this concludes our episode, but we do want to share with you one of our first releases of some art that we merged together.
Mm-hmm.
Sean is a poet and he does haikus and poetry.
Yep.
And writes books. He's working on a published work. So we wanted to just share with you, and I'm gonna put.
Shanice minimize her gift, but
I forgot to mention.
She's a beautiful cinematographer. She loves taking pictures. And I want to say this before she go there. Shanice made me realize how beautiful the world was, whether it's a city of Milwaukee or somewhere. Sometimes we see all the ugly and all the frustration and we don't stop and look at the beauty. But she starts showing me pictures. I'm like, where that's at? Where that's at? She's like, that's in Milwaukee. I'm like, man, I've never seen that. So she has an ability to capture the beauty of life. And I really appreciate that because I don't know if I was just negative in my mind. I couldn't see the beauty of God's creation until she showed me. So I don't want her to minimize her gift. She got a beautiful ability to bring beauty to life. And this is what she finna share.
Thank you.
No problem.
That was a nice introduction. I'll bring you with me wherever I go so you can introduce me.
For sure.
So we wanted to just share with you, here's like you have affirmation cards, like it's this big buzz around affirmation cards, and we started out with the concept, with the idea of creating greeting cards, but that was too boxy for us, and we're flow people.
Mm-hmm.
So we usually go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
So Sean, I had the picture
Mm-hmm.
and he had the words. So everything he was creating, I'm like, that's like an affirmation.
Right.
So what we came up with is beautiful affirmations.
Yeah.
And so these are like, you called them keepsake pieces.
For sure.
So you have the artwork on the front, and then on the back you have, I'll read to you the haiku
Mm-hmm.
first. And what does a haiku consist of?
Haiku is a Japanese form of poetry where it really consists of the beauty of nature, capturing the beauty of nature and putting it in a poetic form. It's 17 syllables, really.
Okay.
It's really a 17 syllable, not 17 word, but 17 syllable expression of beauty.
Now I'm going to read to you the haiku. The celebration of liberation, finally I can be me. And that's the picture that you have to look at every day. And this is on quality cardstock, photo cardstock. It's not like playing cards like usual affirmations are on thin playing cards like you would play spades or Uno. It's not that kind of paper. This is thick cardstock here. So again, the celebration of liberation, finally I can be me. Now that's the haiku. Here's the affirmation for you. The beauty of me I see when I break free from the concepts and ideology of those around me. Can you imagine just looking at this, looking at this beautiful fire lily and then just reading this affirmation to yourself, looking in the mirror every morning? I'm going to show you just one more for those who are watching this or listening to this on video. On YouTube, you can see it, but if you're interested in ordering, I'm going to put Sean's email so you can, we have a pack of 25 of these. And while our website is being built, in the meantime, you can still order. There are not 25 of these. There are 13 of these. You get envelopes in case you want to say, hey, I'm going to send this to a friend.
Yeah.
Envelopes are included in this, and you get a pack of 13. And that's going to be for $25. Again, these are keepsakes. So you have beautiful artwork, beautiful photography, and beautiful original haikus that came from the mind of Sean. I'm going to read to you one more. The hue of difference. You probably should read.
All right. The hue of difference, what makes me uniquely me in living color. And the affirmation is, the color of me is what brightens humanity.
Can you imagine just reading that every day and affirming yourself? And that's the thing that's so beautiful about these. It's like when you put them up, you don't want to put them down. You don't want to lay them just somewhere. It's like you want to keep it with you. You want to show it off. You want to put it around your house in different pieces. And you'll have 13 of these. So you get to put them in different places. Different places all around your house, just affirming yourself, proclaiming to yourself. And you have an envelope in case you want to be nice and send it, send one to a friend that you believe that identifies with so and so. Let me just encourage them and send them something today. So again, I'm going to put Sean's email in the show notes so that you can order that way until we get the website set up for you guys to order there as well. So if you do even just want to support us and say, you know what, I just want to support you guys. One way of doing that is by purchasing our beautiful affirmation packets. So thank you again so much for joining us today. Until next time, take care.
Bye.